The bit that I find particularly interesting is that the same people that subscribe very passionately to the woke ideology are also not particularly religious. How is it that the same people are able to take these crazy ideas and run with them with the same sort of zealousy as some of your very, very radical, religious sort of figures, even from the past inquisitions? Do you actually believe that for those people it is like a replacement of a religion?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I mean, there's no question it is a religion in the Emil Durkheim sense of sacred and profane, binding a community together with rituals. You think about taking the knee, jazz hands, something like the progressive stack or the privilege walk. You have these different rituals which are clearly signaling membership. You have these sacred values if you transgress. So if you say anything that might offend a sacred totem. So you have the totemic sacred groups, say Black or Indigenous at the top, and then you have gay or LGBT and trans a little further down, and white male at the bottom of this totem pole of oppressor versus oppressed in terms of oppression points. And if you kind of say anything that might be perceived as disrespectful or insensitive to groups at the top of the totemic hierarchy, something like "you're so articulate" to a Black person, that's that could be interpreted as suggesting most Black people aren't articulate, therefore you're a racist, therefore you must be cast out. So the idea of if you offend the gods, you must be excluded from the community through cancellation. So there's very much a religious template, and John McWhorter is perhaps the best on this, but a number of others, Joshua Mitchell's book, American Awakening, talks about this too. Is it now? The only thing I would say is I don't go as far. A lot of people like Mitchell and Douglas Murray and others talk about this as being caused by the decline of religion. Now, in the U.S., there's no question that there has been a recent decline of religion amongst young people, starting maybe in the 1990s, moving gradually to the present. But in Europe, that decline took place much earlier. I mean, it's still happening in Britain, for example, but it's not falling from such a high level. The U.S. has always been a much more religious society, and so we've always had these substitute religions. Marxism is a substitute religion. I mean, even to some degree, nationalism is a substitute religion. So you've had a number of these things going on since the early 19th century, and this is just the latest one. And it is in fact a sort of a mutation off of, it is left liberalism, and it's a mutation of left liberalism. So it is a particular form of left liberalism, which is this. And so I'd say, if you look actually at survey data and you what you can see is there's a lot of very religious people that are very woke, actually. And you can see that at the highest levels of the evangelical churches even. You have very woke evangelicals. Lot of the Southern Baptist Convention, which is a sort of traditional evangelical denomination in America, had this huge debate over critical race theory, and there were a significant number of them that were in favor. And not only that, of course, the mainline Protestants certainly are very woke, the Anglicans, the Episcopalians, and others. So I don't think that religion per se is a bulwark against woke, where it's not the same kind of bulwark that, say, patriotism or, if you are strongly patriotic American or British person, you are extremely unlikely to be woke. But if you are a very religious person, there's a significant chance you could still be woke and still believe in reparations and still believe in white guilt and all these other things. So I'm not as convinced that the decline of religion has a whole lot to do with it. Now, of course, it will for some people. They may have missed that spiritual aspect in their life, and so they will really feel a hole. and go after. But I haven't seen any evidence that points directly to that. Now, having said all that, there's no question that this does, it does fulfill a lot of needs that religion might have fulfilled. But I'm just saying that you can be religious and have those needs fulfilled spiritually and still be extremely woke. So there's no incompatibility there. Maybe between a very sort of strict textual literalist form of religion, maybe that is a bulwark against woke, but a lot of religion as it's practiced every day isn't, I would say.